In today's video, we'll discuss about the atypical ribs. Atypical ribs are 1st, 2nd, 10th, 11th and 12th. So here you can see this is the first rib, this is the 2nd, 10th, 11th and 12th ribs. Like typical ribs we have discussed about the parts, atypical ribs also have got a sternal end, a vertebral end and an intervening shaft. First, let's see the features of the first rib. The first rib has got a broad sternal end here. So, this broad sternal end, it articulates with the manubrium sternum. Vertebral end has got head. So, this is the head, and this head has got a single facet. So, there are no two facets. Remember, in typical ribs we have seen there are two facets, upper is smaller, lower is larger. But in case of the first rib, we can see a single facet that articulates completely with the body of the first thoracic vertebrae. Just lateral to this, we can see neck. Neck is not flattened in case of this. Neck is rounded. And the anterior surface of the neck is related to sympathetic trunk. It is also related to the ascending branch of the ventral ramus of first cervical vertebrae. So, anteriorly the neck is related to 4 structures, out of which at least you can remember it is related to the sympathetic trunk and it is related to the ascending branch of the first cervical nerve. Coming to the tubercle, see, this particular part forms the tubercle. This tubercle has got a facet, and this facet articulates with the facet that is present in the transverse process of the vertebrae. So, here you can see here, this is the first rib. See, this is the first rib. This is the transverse process of the first thoracic vertebrae. See, this is the transverse process of first thoracic vertebrae that is articulating with the facet that is present in the tubercle. In case of first rib, the angle is coinciding with the tubercle. Okay. In case of typical rib, we have seen that angle. See, you can see here, this is the typical rib, this is the tubercle. So, tubercle is placed behind, angle is placed anterior, somewhat anterior to that of the tubercle. This is the angle, this is the tubercle. But in case of the first rib, the tubercle and angle, it coincides. The angle is coinciding with the tubercle. Okay. Coming to the shaft. So, shaft, it doesn't have external and internal surface. Okay. It has got an upper surface. So, you can see this is the anatomical position. So, this will be the shaft. Shaft has got an upper surface, a lower surface. It has got an inner border. So, this is the inner border and this is the outer border. Okay. So, when you hold the first rib in the anatomical position and determination of the site, which is very important, hold it like this, slanting, so that the sternal end is about 3 to 4 centimeters below compared to the vertebral end. Okay. Then how to determine the side of the vertebrae? First rib. So, when you hold it like this, the sternal end should be directed anteriorly, the vertebral end should be directed posteriorly. Okay, and one more thing, when you keep this rib on a flat surface, both the sternal end and the vertebral end, it should touch the ground. When I am holding this rib, when I am placing it, so this is belonging to the left side. When I am holding it and placing it like this, again you can see this is the sternal end, this is the vertebral end. So, it is not touching the ground. So, you can see a gap here, see, you can see a gap. This doesn't happen when you place the rib properly. So, here there is no gap, I can't place this needle. So, this is touching the flat surface. Okay. So, remember, when you place the first rib on a flat surface, both the sternal end and the vertebral end should touch the flat surface. If you hold the bone in an opposite side, in a wrong direction, in a wrong side, so you can see I am able to pass a probe. So that means there is a gap between the flat surface and between the sternal and the vertebral ends. So this is wrong. So the rib what I am holding here, this is the left side rib, first rib. And remember, the first rib is strongest, stoutest, and it is the most curved rib. Now coming to the shaft, so observe this particular part. So this is the upper surface, not the external surface, depending upon the anatomical position. So this is facing upwards. So this surface is the upper surface of the ribs. So upper surface of the first rib, it shows an oblique ridge. So I am marking with a yellow chalk there. This is the oblique ridge. And this oblique ridge, anterior and posterior, there are two grooves. Okay, grooves is depression. So I can show here, this is a groove here. Behind here you can see a groove. Close to the inner border, this oblique ridge, it presents a tubercle that I am marking with the green chalk. Okay, so remember, in the outer surface, separating the two grooves, there is an oblique ridge, and this oblique ridge close to the inner border, it gives a small projection, and that projection is called as scalene tubercle. Okay, and this scalene tubercle, it receives the insertion of scalenus anterior muscle. Now I mentioned to you about two grooves. So here where the chalk is passing. Okay, so this is representing the subclavian vein. Okay, anterior to this oblique groove, subclavian vein is resting. Posterior to the oblique groove here, there is subclavian artery. Behind the subclavian artery, there is upper trunk of brachial plexus. I hope it's understood. So this oblique ridge is separating subclavian vein anteriorly and subclavian artery posteriorly. And just lateral or behind the subclavian artery, there is upper trunk of brachial plexus. Okay. Now, what are the muscles that are attached? So, just anterior to the subclavian groove, close to the sternal end, the part what I am marking with orange. So this is receiving the origin, or it is giving origin to subclavius muscle. So subclavius muscle is attached close to the sternal end, anterior to the subclavian groove. Now behind the oblique groove, I said there is subclavian artery. So the upper surface behind the groove for the subclavian artery, which I am marking with orange color. So this upper surface is giving insertion to scalenus posterior muscle. Okay, so that's all about the upper surface. Next, coming to the outer and inner borders. This outer border, behind the groove for the subclavian artery, what I am marking with green there. So this particular border, outer border, it's giving origin to the first digitation of serratus anterior. Inner border is sharp. It gives attachment to Simpson's fascia. Okay. When I'm talking about the inferior surface or lower surface, you cannot see any costal groove. So costal groove is absent in the first rib. Now what about the intercostal muscles? Intercostal muscle takes origin, that is external intercostal muscle and internal intercostal muscle. Intercostalis intimus is absent. Okay, so external intercostal and internal intercostal muscle, they take origin from the outer border of the ribs, lower surface close to the outer border. Okay. So this completes the osteology of first rib. So this rib is very important for your osteology as well as the site determination. Next we'll go to the next rib, the second rib. So when you compare the first and the second rib, you can see that the length of the second rib is twice the length of the first rib and it is the most curved rib. The features are almost same. The sternal end features are same. The vertebral end features are same. That means it has got a head, it has got a neck, it has got a tubercle. But regarding the angle, in case of first rib, we have seen that the angle is coinciding with the tubercle. But in case of the second rib, you can identify this is the angle. Angle is not coinciding with the tubercle. Okay, so you can see the angle is present just ahead of the tubercle. So this particular region is representing the angle, which is considered to be the weakest part of the rib. And in case if there is a fracture of the rib, and this is the angle of the rib is the affected, so that because it is the weakest region. Okay, now coming to the other features. So it has got an external surface. So this is the external surface. Here you can see this is the inner surface. This border is inner border and this is the outer border of the second rib. Now this this external surface, it provides a ridge here. So you can see exactly in the middle, it provides a ridge. So this particular ridge gives attachment to the scalenus medius. Okay, so scalenus medius muscle is attached here to this ridge that is present along the external surface, present in the middle of the shaft. From this muscular impression, we can see a ridge which I am marking by yellow. It is radiating backwards like this. So this particular ridge will give insertion to scalenus posterior. So scalenus medius and scalenus medius are inserted to the external surface of the second rib. Coming to the inferior surface, you can see there is a costal groove here, and this costal groove is present mostly in the posterior part. So you can see this is the costal groove close to the lower border, and it is present, you can appreciate nicely, only in the posterior part of the second rib. So rest of the features are same like what we have seen in the typical and the first rib. Okay, so this is, and depending upon the side determination, so what I am holding is in the right hand. So this is right rib because the sternal end is flattened, depression is present where the costal cartilage is articulating. This is the vertebral end. So I am holding it the other way. You can very nicely see that the vertebral end is directed anteriorly, sternal end is directed posteriorly. So this is the wrong way. Okay, so this is the right way to hold the second rib. Okay. Next, moving on to the next atypical rib, that is the 10th rib. 10th rib, the features are same as that of the typical rib except for the head. The head has got a single facet. Otherwise, in the typical rib, it was two facets. So you can see I am marking this with the orange chalk there. So compare the facets. In case of typical rib, there are two facets. In case of 10th rib, the head has got a single facet. Rest of the features are same as that of the typical rib. So this facet on the head, it articulates with completely with the facet that is present along the body of the vertebrae. So this is 10th rib. Last but one rib, that is the 11th rib. So this is the false rib or floating rib. Coming to the features, it has got a sternal end, and the sternal end, the tip is attached to the 11th costal cartilage, but the 11th costal cartilage will not indirectly or directly articulate with that of the sternum. Coming to the head, head has got a single facet which I marked with orange. So this articulates with the facet that is present along the body of the 11th vertebrae. So if you see this, see there is no tubercle, there is no neck, but slight angulation is present here, this particular region. So 11th rib, it do not have a tubercle, it do not have a angle. Costal groove and neck is present. So costal groove you can see here. So I am marking with the yellow chalk there. This is the costal groove. So costal groove is present in the 11th rib. Okay, so see this carefully. This particular thing is a shaft which has got an upper border, lower border, external surface and inner surface. Is it understood? Remember, the 11th one does not have a neck, it doesn't have a tubercle, it has got angle, this is the angle, and it has got a costal groove. Next, coming to the last rib, atypical rib. See, this is belonging to right side. This is the sternal end. This particular part where you can see a facet. This is the head that contains a facet. So this will be the posterior end. If I am holding it the other way, this is wrong. So this is not left side 12th rib. So this is the 12th rib belonging to right side. Coming to the parts, it has got a sternal end, it has got a head that has got a facet that completely articulates with the body of the 12th thoracic vertebrae. But this particular rib, it do not have a neck, it doesn't have a tubercle, it doesn't have costal groove, and there is no angle. So all the four features are absent in the 12th rib. So I cannot identify any kind of costal groove here. So there is no costal groove, there is no angle, there is no tubercle, and there is no neck. So this particular region that articulates, that is present between the sternum and the head. So this entire thing is the shaft. So this inner surface of the 12th rib, I am coloring with the yellow chalk. Yes. So the lower part of the anterior surface, close to the medial end, it gives origin to the quadratus lumborum muscle. Close to the lateral end, in the upper part where I am marking with green color chalk, it is giving origin to diaphragm. Here this is giving origin, in the lower part it is giving origin to the external oblique muscle. Sorry, not external oblique, transversus abdominis muscle. It's a muscle of the abdomen. Okay, so the quadratus lumborum muscle, it takes origin from the lower part of the anterior surface close to the medial end. Lateral end, the inner surface, it is giving origin above to the diaphragm, below to the transversus abdominis muscle. Okay. Coming to the external surface close to the medial end, it is giving origin to the longissimus thoracis. Not very important, if you can you remember, or else it's fine. Close to the lateral end, it is giving origin to the external oblique muscle. Behind the external oblique, it is giving origin to latissimus dorsi. I think these two muscles you can remember. So lateral end, the external surface is giving origin in the anterior part to the external oblique. Behind it, it is giving origin to latissimus dorsi. That's all from the osteology of atypical ribs. Thank you.